thank you for joining me today. I am so happy that you are here because I so look forward to getting your insight. Could you tell me your name?
Sure, Monica Smith, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for reaching out to me.
All right, Monica, I know that one of your parents died. And would you sort of step me through that process? Did your father have a health directive? Was there a will? Did you know about her funeral arrangements?
Mm.
And how was that process for you?
Yeah, so my father passed in 2016, and there were a series of health events that he had. So his health was declining, and we knew that he would pass, and so there was a lot of time to plan. But my parents did not have a will. They did not have health directives, none of that. And it made it challenging because um, my siblings and I were then left with having to make some decisions, even about his health, right? That's where it started, making some decisions about his health. We pretty much knew what we thought dad would want, but my mother is still alive, but aging and needed some support in making decisions. So it was very challenging to make decisions that were either going to support what the doctor said or support what we thought our parents wanted to have happen. And in our family, a lot of emotion was involved in making some of those decisions.
Now, when you say a lot of emotions, could you just elaborate just a little bit, not going into much detail, but just a little bit to give me a fuller understanding of what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, that there's always trying times when anybody's having a health episode, and I'll just give you one example. My father, nearing the end of his life, had to spend some time at a nursing home for rehab, and the directive at that time from the doctors was, we think that his next step should be long term in a facility. My parents never wanted to be in a nursing facility. They wanted to live out their older years and in their home that they built and lived in for decades. And I'm a social worker by trade. And
Hmm.
so I started to do a concurrent plan. Let's plan on getting him home, which is where we know he needs to be. But if he can't get home because his health will deteriorate and his quality of life will deteriorate or decline quickly, we should also have a secondary plan. So let's do a both and so I made some of those decisions, had talked it over with my mother. She understood that. And when my siblings found out, one sibling in particular, were just absolutely outraged and could only hear, you want dad in a nursing facility, and couldn't get beyond that. And I just think if there had been some preparation ahead of time where we had thought about, or my parents had thought about and communicated, right, a lot of what they're thinking, because neither of them wanted to be a burden on us either, right? And so it was those unknown pieces that I think allowed for fear and anguish to become discontent and disagreeability, or disagreeableness.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that, Monica. Now, I have something to ask you. Now, knowing and having that experience, now, how have you how have you prepared, right? Your own, because you have two children, two lovely children.
Thank
And
you.
so what happens is, and a grandbaby,
Thank
well,
you.
actually several grandchildren. You just had a grandbaby, granddaughter. So how has that, knowing that experience that you have that shaped you, one, and then in what ways?
Yeah, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. So one of the things that it helped to shape for me is my thoughts about what I need to do. And I have communicated with my children what I want to happen. However, I have not put pen to paper and formalized that. And I know my children's emotions. They will go back and forth with each other.
Mhm.
Um, and it'll be an emotionally charged conversation. And I think that there is room for the same kind of disagreement and deterioration of their relationships. That was my experience, that could happen. And so I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I've yet to put pen to paper to say, this is what I want to happen. There's some reasons behind it, but I can't say that they're all good reasons. The reasons that I haven't done it yet would pale in comparison to the reasons why I should do it.
All right. Well, thank you. This one last question. Does this
Sure.
conversation, serve as a push or at least a thought to put that pen to paper?
Absolutely. I mean, as I'm cleaning up some residue from kind of my previous life, right? And really being intentional and recognizing, look, I'm a single woman who has a lot of responsibilities and assets and desires and those sorts of things. And I should not burden my children with that kind of decision making. The best gift that I could give them is the knowledge of what it is I want to have happen with me. And that way, if there's any blaming about anything that happened to mom and her stuff, the blame comes
Mhm.
on me and their relationships can continue to be whole because they can blame me and not one another. And so I am cleaning up some of the residue of kind of my past life. And this is definitely one of the things that's on my radar, but you never know what tomorrow is going to bring, right? And
Yeah.
so I might run out of time. So it has absolutely encouraged me and inspired me to do a little bit to put more precedent on getting it done.
Oh, Monica, thank you so much for your honesty. And I just so appreciate it. And again, thank you for this time. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks for thinking of me. Um, in part of your project here, I'm really glad to do that. I do hope that my experience is one that would encourage others to get their house in order, as my mother would say.
And it's a nice little song. What is it? Get your house in order. Do it when?
Right now, right
Today.
away.
Yeah.
Yep, do it
Yes.
now. Yes, yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Take care. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you so much.